Good morning, everybody. What a wonderful morning it is. It's time for morning manna. It's time for morning manna. Bless God to be with you on this morning. Got a word for you. Trust me. Trust me. I got a word for you on this morning. And we're going to give Facebook Live just a few seconds to get the audience together. Then we're going to jump right into the word this morning. Now, you know, we're in this whole series this week. We're dealing with this whole thing about after this. After this, we've got to think in terms of what is going to happen after the COVID-19, after this moment that we're in, after what is going to happen. And so we've been dealing with this all week, and today we're going to deal with part 3. Now, yesterday we raised the whole issue as Noah being the backdrop. Remember, Noah's the backdrop. Of what we're talking about. And remember, he went through 40 days, 40 nights. You know it well. He was shelter in place the first time ever. And we got some lessons learned from there. And one of the things that we got, very brief review here before we get into this morning, is that we found that he worshiped. Immediately after this, he worshiped. He got together. I hope that's what you're going to do. And then he went overboard with his celebration. Don't you do that. You know, he got drunk. And then he started saying things he should have never said after the celebration. He cursed his son, which became a generational issue. Don't make no mistakes after this. That's going to cost you a generation. But let's jump right into the word this morning. Let me give you what you need to do. Let me tell you, you know, it's always the text, the talk, and the takeaway. You got to give the hearts and the likes. You got to share the manna. And then we're going to get right into the word this morning. Okay, so we got to do that. And remember, give the comments. Give the comments, because the revelation you get, we want somebody else to get that revelation throughout the day as we share this manna with everybody. Here we go. Let's get back with it. We're still with Genesis. We're still in the wake of what's going on with Noah. And this morning, I want you to think in terms of remember the promise. After this, remember the promise. Here's the text. Genesis 8:22. Got to get this word. As long as the earth endures, and time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter will not cease. As long as the earth exists, winter and summer, harvest will not cease. Winter, summer, spring, and fall, the harvest will not cease in the earth. What's going on in the text? In this text, he's saying seed time. There's going to be a seed time in the earth as long as the earth exists. He talks about some seasons, if you will. Now, this is the verse that comes right after the flood. This is God talking to Noah. And he's saying to Noah, here is your promise. And he puts a rainbow in the sky. Now, we miss what is being done here. Remember, the earth was just destroyed by a flood. God is saying to the farmer Noah, Noah, you don't ever have to worry about a season in which you will be wiped out like the flood. Therefore, Noah, I'm going to provide summer, fall, winter, spring. Spring, summer, fall, winter. In other words, I'm always going to set up seasons by which, Noah, you can be sure that you can plant seed time, that you will be able to harvest, and that you will be able to live. There will never be a disruption again like what you just went through, Noah. That's the promise, Noah. And Noah, the way I'm going to show you the promise is I'm going to put a rainbow in the sky after it rains. That's why the rainbow, you see the rainbow. Now we know that there's a prism of light going through the crystals of water in the air, and therefore giving us what we see, the light radiance of the sun. God says, I did that. And the reason I did that, Noah, is that you can know I'm not going to come that way again. That you can always know you can depend on me giving you a time of harvest. What does that mean to you and I right now? What does that mean to you and I right now? You need to get this word. You need to get this revelation this morning, because the first thing I need you to grab a hold of right now is that God promised a harvest. God promised a harvest. You need to know that after this, after what we're dealing with right now, God's got a promise, and he's promised a harvest. I know that we're in difficult times right now. 50,000 plus people have passed. There's no overlooking that. There's no diminishing that. There's no belittling that. Let's be real and let's be prayerful for the families that are going through, the people that are hurting even right now. Let's never forget that. So in the midst of that, though, after this, know that God's got a harvest. Bishop, that's saying a whole lot. Yes, I know. So let's get the second thing and you'll understand why. Every problem carries an opportunity. Every problem carries an opportunity. There is, when you can look back, and I want you to just take a moment here and reflect back. I love business. I am a pastor. That's my first and foremost calling. But if you are a church planter, you have an entrepreneurial spirit. That is the business or the belief that you can start something and create something that can address a need in the earth. Okay. As a result of that, I look at a lot of books on history, look at a lot of companies. I could be eating something and I'll look and I'll see, well, when was this company established? And I want you to do that. And if you will check it out, you will find that many companies were established during the Great Depression. Yes, a lot of companies went under during the Great Depression, but there were still companies that were established during the Great Depression. Go back even further, you will find that many companies were started right around the Civil War, 1860s or so. Wow, is that a time to do something? Yes, always know that in a crisis or in a problem, every problem carries an opportunity. So it is right now. After this, you have to look for the opportunities. Here's the third thing. Every crisis carries a potential or potential. Now, let's look at the word crisis. Crisis comes out of the Chinese proverb that it will either get better or worse. It will either get better or worse. The medical field carries that in too. When they say that they're going to put you in critical care or intensive care, they're saying that your life is in crisis. It's either going to get better or worse. All right? It's either going to get better or worse. That's why when you see you have a chronic disease, that's going to be something that you're going to have continuously. I pray that COVID-19 is not chronic. It's a crisis. Therefore, it's either going to get better or worse. I'm believing that it's going to get, you got it, better. That it's going to get better. And every crisis carries with it that balance, that up or down. It's going to get better or worse. Hey, let's believe that after this, it's going to get better. It's going to get better. So what's your takeaway this morning? Your takeaway is this. Don't forget what God said to you before the virus. I feel like running right there. Hey, don't you forget what God said to you before the virus. In January, on New Year's Eve, when you were celebrating, when you were giving God glory, running around the church, believing, writing down the promises of God, saying, I know this is what 2020 for our church, I got a vision, 2020 vision is going to be great for me. All of that you were saying, don't you forget what God promised you before the virus. After this, you remember the promise. Hey, the Lord be with you today. May his face shine upon you and give you peace. I got more of this on tomorrow as we deal with after this. God bless you. Share the manna now.